Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and this is LEGO set number 10333, the Lord of the Rings Barad-dûr from the LEGO Icons theme. This set contains 5,471 pieces, 10 minifigures, and will retail for $459.99 in the US when it officially releases on June 1st, 2024. This set was sent to me early for review by the LEGO Group through the LEGO Ambassador Network, but all opinions expressed in this video are my own. I'm doing a bunch of early summer 2024 reviews right now, so if you like these videos and you want to see more, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. That does a ton to help support me and the channel, and also helps to put my videos in your feed as soon as they're posted. But now, with all that being said, let's get into the review. So this thing is absolutely massive. So massive, in fact, it's hard to get it all in frame at once. That's why in the intro to this video, I actually filmed it vertically to get it all in frame and just sort of feathered the edges. But yeah, this thing's so tall, it barely fits my light box, and if it didn't, I actually don't know what I would have done. But yeah, this is an absolute beast of a set in terms of height. It's almost 3 feet tall, and it is gorgeous from top to bottom. I'm just panning up and down right now so you guys can see the entire thing, but just incredibly well designed from top to bottom, and genuinely impressive to see a LEGO set in this scale. But right off the bat in this review, I want to make a couple of things clear. Number one, I'm not the biggest fan of huge sets like this. Like, they are cool, don't get me wrong, but I much prefer smaller sets to big sets. It's just smaller stuff is the LEGO I grew up with, it's what I have fun with. So while I can respect something like this, it's not what I would typically buy. And number two, I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan in the world. I do like the franchise, I enjoy the movies, but it's far from like my number one interest. So I'm going to be reviewing this set more as just a general LEGO fan than as specifically a Lord of the Rings fan. But all that being said, I do really love this set. This is an incredibly impressive model. The designers just did a fantastic job with it. It can be taken apart and separated into a few main sections, and I'm going to do that right now so it's easier to look at them one by one. But yeah, the top part of the tower, including the at the top, can all come off super easily. It just connects onto these studs right here, and then there's actually some Technic in the center so you can connect it and make it a little more sturdy. And just removing that section makes everything a lot smaller, but you can remove even more than just that. We now have 3 levels remaining, and this can just be pulled straight out. It's super smooth, very easy to remove, but also super easy to slot back in. And you can do the same exact thing with this level right here. And that leaves us with just the ground floor, which we'll take a closer look at now. So we'll start here at the outside, and immediately the most striking thing is all the lava. I absolutely adore the way this was done. They used these trans yellow curved pieces, which I believe is a new color for that part for this year. And that combined with all these trans orange and trans red plates just looks perfect. It does feel like a huge body of lava that this tower's just rising out of. I think it's neat the way it flows off of the build too, to sort of imply, yeah, there's more here. This is built on top of something, and the lava's just flowing down into whatever else is below. But still, throughout this, there's a few little platforms, and the texturing on the walls here is gorgeous. Now, I do have one minor point of criticism right here, is that these walls have a little bit of movement to them. It's not a huge deal, and they are still sturdy, right? You can move them, but they're not, like, gonna fall off or anything. However, with a set this expensive and at this scale, I don't know, I would have expected these to be locked in place. Because in universe, I don't think they're supposed to move at all, so it's a little bit weird that they move in this set. Not a huge deal and doesn't ruin the experience, because it looks great no matter what. But just something to be aware of. And that's the case with the wall on the other side too, as well as these larger walls in the center. On the left side, I like how part of the tower is like covered in a bit of terrain. They help make the build more interesting because the two sides weren't exactly symmetrical. And it's really beautiful the way it's done. There's like this gradient here from the dark tan into like the nougat color into the dark orange. And the entire thing just feels very natural and smooth. This little lava flow coming out is super cute too. And I like how it transitions from the trans yellow to the trans orange back into the trans yellow. This whole section looks really amazing. At the front entrance, there's this little bridge with room for minifigures to walk through, and then of course double doors that open up to get inside. For the railings of the bridge, they use the mech finger pieces from like Ninjago and Lego Marvel. I think that's a really creative use of that part, and we get them in black here, which is a pretty cool color. And I think it looks fantastic. It keeps those like very evil vibes of the entire tower, while also using a very unique shape. Moving inside, there's quite a bit happening here. Those doors I pushed open previously, but you can also turn this little knob on that like terrain on the side. And when that's being turned, that moves an entire gear system that actually pulls those doors open. And that's really smooth. It's super satisfying to make them close too. Here, I'm just gonna let you hear the sound real quick. I'm gonna stop talking. They close just absolutely perfectly, and that's one of the best like door opening mechanisms I've seen in a LEGO set. Normally in other sets it's a little bit finicky, it's not the best. That's not the case with this set at all though. It opens and closes absolutely perfectly. The doors go completely flat against the wall. That's actually really impressive how well they did that. And looking inside, we have a second gear mechanism off to the side. This one's a little bit smaller, you just turn this right here. And this is, I guess, meant to be a little dungeon. We have a skeleton in a cage hanging over lava. Don't know if this was originally a skeleton or if this guy was alive at one point. I assume so, actually. I guess that's where skeletons come from. But point is, you get the skeleton here or replace it with a minifigure, and this poor guy is dangling over the lava. And you can use this gear to move him up higher or lower him back down. And this kind of thing is just such a classic LEGO play feature, and I'm really happy to see it in such a big set. Because I feel like sometimes 18 plus sets go too hard into like the adult audience and they forget like that LEGO's supposed to be fun. But I think this set does the perfect job of looking beautiful from the outside and being just a really elaborate model from the outside, while also on the inside being a fun thing to play with if you wanted to. There's little play features and details all throughout, which I think is really, really cool. But yeah, you can see above the lava right here, you have more of those stepping stones. There's the stairs from the main entrance when you open the door. And you can see there's tons of room in here to pose minifigures, so you can really like fill this up with an army if you wanted to. There's also tons of little details all throughout here. For example, let me remove this. They mostly connect on jumper pieces, so you can easily take them off, rearrange them, and also use them with your minifigures. So this first one is 2 new shield pieces for this set. This is an all new piece. Both the print and the actual piece is all new for this set. And these are really cool looking. I think this is a fantastic design, and I appreciate that they're printed too, because they would have worked without the print. But no, the print has like rust and scratch marks on it. It makes these look even better. Then we have a little helmet stand with 2 orc helmets on it, and you get a total of 8 different orc helmets in this set. 3 are used in the build, 1 is used on a minifigure, and then 4 are just extra. We'll take a look at the extra ones when we take a look at the minifigures. And yeah, these come in a little accessory pack, like the golden weapons and Ninjago crystallized, or numerous other accessory packs we've gotten over the years, like the visors for clone troopers is an accessory pack. But I've never seen helmets in an accessory pack before, which is quite interesting. But yeah, there's 8 total helmets and 4 unique ones. This one's used in 3 places, this one's used in 3 places, and then there's 2 others that are only used once. And if I put that back, I can take out this other armor stand right here, and you can see this helmet is the same as the one on the left that we just looked at. However, this stand also comes with some shoulder pad pieces, which are not new for this set or anything. They're used on like Wildfire from Ninjago and Groot from LEGO Marvel, but still cool extra armor to add to your orcs if you want. We got a couple other things in here, a barrel with some weapons, but nothing too crazy going on there. A little bucket. But the last thing I want to point out for this floor is this little area off to the side, because this is a place for a blacksmith to forge weapons, and it's using the lava from the outside. It's got a spout coming out, and that actually matches the spout on the other side right here. You can imagine both of these bits of lava originating from about the same location. There's a little anvil back here and some ingot pieces to represent the metal to make the tools. And if you notice, that's gunmetal gray, the same color as the helmets in this set. So you can imagine this is where those helmets are being forged. I just think all this is really cool. It makes the entire thing feel very lived in. I think it's incredibly well done. Right next to that, we have like a little bonus section, because I guess this technically isn't a part of the tower, but this is meant to be Gollum's cave. You can see there's a fish in there, and it's the perfect size for the Gollum figure in this set to fit. Right above that cave too, there's another little secret. You can pull this section out right here, and inside you can see there's a tiny little hidden spider. That's a super cute little bonus and tucks away really nicely. It just slides right in there and you don't really notice it. It just has that lip to make it easy to remove. Finally, you can see this entire section is very flat at the top, and there's some bars at the end right there, and that's where the upper level clips into. So now let me slot that back into the build. There we go. So now coming around the outside on this upper level, again, very beautiful. I love the way this is done. We have another slight gradient that ties into the color scheme down here, which is cool. It's nice to break up all the black because obviously this is a very dark tower, and it gets even darker towards the top, but I like that they included some color in a few places here. You even have brown on the bottoms of these walls. Another weird thing in this set that I guess I'll point out is there's a little bit of movement in these walls too. You can push them in like that to make these completely flat, or pull them out like this, which is more how they're supposed to be to make them somewhat rounded. And again, that's not a huge deal. It looks perfectly fine, and it will stay in place if you're not touching it, but it's just a little strange to see something like that in such a big set. Not a big deal by any means, but still something I felt was worth pointing out. On the left side, you can see this rocky terrain continues all the way up, and we have some nice variation in the actual architecture here. As you can see, this spire is up higher than the one on the other side. This does seem to be accurate to the movie, but again, just as a LEGO set, it makes the entire building process a lot more interesting because you're not just building the same thing over and over. There is a lot of repetition in this set, don't get me wrong, but I do appreciate the ways they were able to break it up. You can see there's also quite a bit of floor space on the outside of this level too. No studs on the inside, so if you pose minifigures up here, it's very easy for them to fall off. However, on this lip at the front, of course, you can see there is studs. So there is more options for display, which is nice. But now, taking a look inside, this is probably my favorite room in the entire building. Because the designers of this set kinda had to make some stuff up, because you don't see too much of the inside of this tower in the movies or in the books. So they decided to add a cafeteria on this floor, which I absolutely adore. That's like the kind of LEGO silliness I really like, while also still making sense in universe, right? It makes sense for the orcs to have a cafeteria somewhere, but the fact that it was chosen to be included just feels so much fun to me. There's this table at the back where it looks like food's being prepared. You got some herbs up there. There's some meat on the side, as well as a pot, a chalice, and a giant bone. There's the table in the middle with 3 seats to sit minifigures, and the table is super messy with everything just sort of thrown all throughout, which perfectly fits the vibes of the orcs in my opinion. There's a keg on the side too, and it seems to be dripping some sort of liquid, as well as a second one down here, which I guess could be reloaded once this one gets empty. Those don't actually have anything inside, it's just up to your own imagination. And then on the other side we have this giant pot piece which is hanging over another pit of lava, and that's where they're cooking their food. There was a bone and a carrot piece on the inside, and of course both of those are pretty standard LEGO parts. There's another one of those new shield pieces on the ground, again with that same printing. Again, really great to get so many of that part in this set. In fact, you get one for pretty much every orc, because one of the minifigures has it as an accessory by default, and then you get 3 extras in the build. And then the final thing I want to point out in this room is this sticker back here. You can see it says menu at the top, and it's got a picture of meat on it, and this is another very silly LEGO thing that I adore. That's a reference to In the Two Towers when one of the orcs says, "Meat's back on the menu, boys." This is showing us that yes, meat is literally on the menu here. That's so ridiculous, but I love that so much. Such a silly and very awesome detail. There's one more secret to discover on this floor. Similar to the spider on the lower floor, you can see there's a lip right here, and if you pull this out, there's actually a sticker piece on the inside, and that's showing the designs of the 3 rings on it, which is very, very cool. Now we'll come up to the next floor, and of course each of these floors gets smaller and smaller, so I'll probably go a little bit quicker through them. But yeah, once again, I'm able to just stick this up here and slide it in like that. And apologies about the lighting, this doesn't let as much light in the top, so I'll try to brighten that up in editing. But yeah, this one is the throne room. Starting by looking at the outside though, you can see now this rocky structure has turned fully gray. Again, I love that gradient. It started at dark orange, then went to nougat, then dark tan. And you can see the dark tan's still here, but it's becoming sparser and sparser, and it's moving into light and dark bluish gray. Again, create some nice variants to break up the tower a little bit more, so it's not just all the same exact thing, and also just looks really, really cool. We have a little bit of orange in here too, which is nice, just adds a little bit of color. But then, of course, the most interesting thing here is the inside, and this actually has a really cool feature to it. So this is a throne room. We have 2 stickered banner pieces right here with the Eye of Sauron on it, and this throne for Sauron himself to sit. There's how he looks actually on the throne, which is absolutely awesome. But there's a transformation feature here too. If you pull out on like this little nub right here, that actually splits the throne in half and moves this out, and it turns into almost a completely different room. And in the center right here, you can see there's like this crystal ball, which is Sauron's palantir. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And underneath it, that's actually a new printed piece for this set. Let me see if I can remove that. But yeah, that's a new minifigure head depicting the burning of the White Tree of Gondor. There's also another print on the alternate side, and that seems to show the Shire burning. Behind that too, there's another stickered piece, and this is showing Sauron's plans to conquer Middle-earth. And it's not super easy to see, but on the inside of this area, there's also more stickered pieces, and this is just like depicting some archways, I guess, just to add some more texture to this area. And there's one of those on each side. But yeah, very cool little 2-in-1 room, and I love the way the chair just closes back together. It does leave some gaps in the chair, which is to be expected, but honestly, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't seem like anything's wrong with this build. And I think that play feature is more than worth it, because come on, that's just awesome. The way it's hidden away and then it just slides out, that's really fun to do, and again, it's just impressively smooth. And finally, this is where we attach the final level, the tallest part of the build, and there's the place for the Technic pin that I mentioned that would help to lock it on. Anyway, I'm going handheld with the camera now because that way I can get a little bit higher up. But you can see there's like some imaginary doorways right here. They use orange, which again, I like that it brings color into the build. However, these doors don't actually open up or anything. There's no movement there. Really nice shaping to everything. It uses these like very geometric pieces. And it's actually really impressive they were able to get this shape out of Lego while also still having an interior. Moving up a little bit, we start to use these rubber spike pieces, and in fact, we use a whole lot of them. And because those aren't really used anywhere else in the build, they look super cool and make it very ominous getting to the top. This part's one of my favorite parts. There's tons of blades here. These are like the Ninjago blade pieces that were introduced back in 2012. But we have them in solid black here, which I don't think is a new color for that part, but it's definitely a very uncommon color for that part. And this is super cool because it's very subtle, right? Like down lower, we have a few different colors used. It's like majority black, but we have the browns, we have the dark orange, we have the dark gray. But then as we're moving to the top, we have less and less orange. Like we only have it in the windows, then there's only one small window right here. And then as we get towards the eye, it's just entirely black and all the texturing is just greebling. They don't use color to add any extra detail here, which makes this very ominous and cool. And then finally, at the top, of course, we have the actual Eye of Sauron. This looks fantastic. Of course, the most important part of the build, but it does look really, really good. They use these blade pieces, which I don't remember where they were introduced. I think maybe Nexonites. I know they were used in like a Monkey Kid. But yeah, they're in trans orange here, and that's an all new color for them. And then we also have these spike pieces on the side with the rubber tips, which that's a very old part, but I believe this is an all new recolor. And then as you can see, yeah, the Eye of Sauron can actually move. It's super easy to turn it left to right as well as move it up and down. There's actually a huge range of motion to it, which is very, very impressive. You could flip it all the way around too if you want to have it look the other direction. And I love how many parts are actually trans orange here. Like there are some solid colors in the center for the people, which makes sense. But no, the rest of it is mostly transparent and genuinely just looks fantastic. This brown piece right here is kind of interesting. I personally don't recognize that part. I don't know if it's new for this set, but I don't believe I've ever seen it before. Regardless, it's a great part for building. And you You get a total of 4 of it here. It's on both the front and back. You may have noticed something else here. This is actually a light brick, and that shines a light on the eye. So if you want to illuminate it from the front, there's how that looks. Obviously, I'm in my very bright light box right now, but if I turn the lights off and then shine it, yeah, that's a lot more significant, and that looks super ominous. You can move it up and down a little bit too to change like where the light's being pointed. And here's how that looks in the back when I'm actually holding the light brick, as well as how it looks when the eye's facing this direction. But now moving back down into the interior of this section, this first part right here is like a little study. We have a stickered piece of Frodo's mithril armor, as well as a quill and a little letter. But most interestingly, to me at least, are these pieces in the back and like this window section right here. Those are all new like scroll pieces, and that's just printed on a window pane. But yeah, it's a printed part, not a stickered part, which I was super surprised to see. I feel like that's a really useful piece to have. I'm fairly sure it's new for this set. I've never seen it before, but as someone who's a fan of like Ninjago especially, that's going to be an amazing part for Ninjago builds. And I hope we get it in more sets soon. These back walls are stickered too, just showing some shelves. Or at least it's stickered on the one side, it's not stickered on the other side. But then as we move up, you can see there's a giant painting right here, and it's showing Sauron with the ring. Coming up to the next level above that, this is like the library. We have a giant scroll in the center, and that's once again a stickered part. But then we have this ladder in the center which can be moved from side to side, and more stickered pieces back here to show that it's a library. We got scrolls, we got books, and similar things on the other side, as well as a skull and some spider webs. And I think that's most of what I have to show you for the main build of this set. Overall, it is really fantastic. There's a few minor things that are like, that's weird, I don't really like that part. But those are very minuscule in the grand scheme of things. This is incredibly well designed, the designers did a fantastic job, and I just really could not be happier with it. But that's not everything in this set. We still have the side build to look at, and then of course the minifigures. So now let's take a look at those, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts on everything at the end of this video. So here's the side build on this set, and I'm kind of surprised we got this, because this seems a little out of place in something so big. I'm not complaining, this is a nice bonus, but yeah, this is just a little bit of terrain to represent just the land of Mordor. It seems a little empty like this, but if you put Frodo, and Sam, and Gollum onto it, it becomes a nice little display piece. This is a cute bonus, I appreciate that this is here. And it does look good, it uses some of the same lava techniques that the big build uses, but in comparison, this feels very small off to the side. Obviously not the main focus of the set, but still cool that it's here, I appreciate it. But now, here are the first two minifigures in the set. We have Frodo and we have Sam. I don't believe either of these two have any new parts that are the same as Rivendell from last year, but of course that's a very big expensive set, you may or may not have that, so it is definitely nice to get these characters again. They don't have their capes that they had in that set, but that's perfectly fine to me. And they still use the hair pieces from the original Lord of the Rings line, which are just perfect for the hobbits. I think they fit really well. The face print for Frodo I think is fantastic, it captures the actor's likeness really well, and the coat he's wearing is just really nice looking. I think that's a good piece for any minifigure in general, but especially this character. They both have the iconic like hobbit bare feet, which is really cute that they captured that. And if we take the hair pieces off, you can see there is an alternate face on Frodo, where he's being overwhelmed by the power of the ring, and of course in terms of accessory, he does come with the ring. Then with Sam, there's a full look at his face print, and he once again does have an alternate face. Not as interesting as Frodo's, but it's still cool to have two expressions, and he comes with a little crystal piece as an accessory and a sword. Now those versions of the figures are the same as Rivendell, however there is a new version that you can display them in, because I mentioned that helmet accessory pack came with 8 total helmets, 4 of which were unique. Well, we saw 2 types of helmets already, but here are the other 2. We have these 2 that have like somewhat long noses, and these are meant for Frodo and Sam when they're in disguise. So these variants of the helmets you only get 1 of, while the other 2 variants you get 3 of. But once again, very cool. I love the idea of helmets as an accessory pack, and I would like to see more themes do something like that, because it just creates so much variance in the designs of this set. And these 2 look quite good with these on. So yeah, if you already have Rivendell, this is a way to display these figures that's slightly different from that set. Or alternatively, you could give these helmets to the Orcs in this set. It's entirely up to you. But yeah, overall, probably some of the less interesting figures of this set, just because they did come in another set previously. Here are the next 2 figures in this set. We have Gollum and we have Gothmog, who's of course one of the Orcs. This is our first Gollum figure for like the new version of LEGO Lord of the Rings. Of course, we got him in the original theme years ago, but he did not come in Rivendell, so this is our first modern Gollum figure. And opinions on this guy have been very divisive from what I've seen. Number 1, yes, he does still have a loincloth. I saw people were worried about that. I don't know why they'd get rid of that. Yes, that's still there. But the biggest difference is the change in his face. He now just has like regular LEGO eyes. They are blue, but they're not as big as they were in his previous version. I think personally, I do like this version of Gollum better than the original. It does just feel more Lego-like to me. He now uses Skullkin arms too, which is just a standard Lego piece. And I think it does a good enough job of capturing the character's personality. I could definitely see Gollum in this. He's a little weird and unsettling, but that's what he's supposed to be. Obviously, it's not a one-to-one translation, but I think this is a good translation into Lego style. And I appreciate how the printing's done, like the way the hair goes all the way back too. Yeah, I definitely see Gollum in this figure, so I think overall it's fairly well done. Some people are going to disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. But personally, I do think I like this version. And then Gothmog is the first of the orcs that we have to look at. And you can see this guy's in full battle armor with an all-new print for his chestplate. That is awesome to see, because this chestplate piece has been around for forever. I remember playing with that piece when I was a kid. But it's neat to bring in an old Lego piece and introduce a new print. And it fits this guy absolutely perfectly. I really, really love that. His face is a little freaky, a little unsettling, but again, I think that's what it's supposed to be. And you can see he does have a back head print, but not an alternate face, because he's bald. He wouldn't have an alternate face there, or else that would always be showing. And if we take that headpiece off, we can take off the armor piece as well. And now you can see his full torso print. This torso print is used on one other figure in this set, however that's perfectly fine because he has the chest piece on most of the time, so he doesn't need an exclusive print. In fact, I'm impressed he has a print at all under his torso. The leg print though is new and exclusive for this guy, and it just adds to this very armored look. I really, really love this figure. Continuing with the orcs, here are the next two in this set, and these are just all generic orcs from this point forward. None of them are named like Gothmog was. But you can see the one on the left has full battle gear on with a sword in his hand and one of those helmets on, while the one on the right is meant to be our chef in the kitchen. You can see he's got a little hot dog on his skewer, and of course he's got like the headband on, and that's very different from the armored look of the other guy. Again, that's that Lego silliness that I love. I love that one of the orcs in this set is just a chef instead of like a battle orc. But then you, as the buyer, do have the option to change him if you want. There's 3 extra helmets in the build, as well as 2 extra helmets that just aren't used anywhere. So if you want to turn this guy into a battler, you absolutely can. But if you'd rather keep him as a chef, which I would, that's a super cute and very fun option that you have. You can see the one on the right does have the same torso print as Gothmog, but the one on the left does actually have a new torso print. And then these two do share a leg print, but it is also new for this set. But yeah, there's a full look at that face print that they have, as well as the alternate face you can see is a lot more angry. But this armor looks absolutely beautiful. I love how there's scuff marks in both of them to show that like this armor has been worn and damaged, and I really love the dark tan fur that's incorporated in this design. While the one on the right doesn't seem like as covered, but he's still definitely prepared for battle, especially if you put a helmet on. They very easily could have given all the orcs in this set the exact same prints, but I'm super happy that they didn't. It just makes this entire set and these minifigures feel a lot higher quality. Then here are the next final two orcs in the set. We have 2 green orcs. And these two once again share the same face print, but it's a different face print from the other ones, as well as share the same hairpiece, which I believe this hairpiece originates from Lego Harry Potter. I could be wrong, it might be new for this set. But of course the coloration is new for this set with the dark green ears. And once again, just like the previous orcs, there are 2 variants here. We have one with like fur who seems a lot more armored, and one that seems slightly less armored, and that's some really great variation between them. There's like the back torso prints too, and you can see tons of metallic printing used as well. And then they do share the same leg print, but it ties into both torsos quite nicely. This one on the right you can see comes with another one of those shield pieces, so you get a total of 4 in this set, while the one on the right is clearly meant to be the blacksmith because he comes with a hammer as well as a little skewer that's holding a sword. But again, just like the chef, you could very easily turn this guy into a warrior if you wanted to. Just put that sword in his hand and give him a helmet if you want, or you don't have to give him a helmet. And same thing with this guy right here. He's already a warrior, but if you want to give him a helmet as well, you can. And here's an example of how that could look with the 2 of them. I think of the 5 orcs in this set, these are my favorites, but they're all quite good, and I love the variation between them. No 2 are exactly the same. And there's a total of, what, 3 different head prints, 4 different torso prints, and 3 different leg prints between them? That is awesome for just like a generic villain army. But now we come to the final 2 minifigures in this set, and what's definitely the most exciting minifigures in this set. We have the Mouth of Sauron, and then Sauron himself. Starting with the Mouth of Sauron, he has this very elaborate helmet piece. I'm not sure if this is the same one from the original Lord of the Rings line. I never had that figure, but looking at pictures, this does look very similar, so I wouldn't be shocked if that's the same piece. However, of course, the rest of this figure is new, even if parts do look very similar. That crown, though, is the absolute highlight. Actually, no, I take it back. This is definitely not the same piece, because this is actually dual molded. I didn't notice that first because gunmetal gray and black are very similar colors, but no, the front is gunmetal gray and the back is black, and that makes this figure even better now that I look at it. The hood, like, goes over his helmet with the spikes coming out the top. That is so cool. I really, really love that. He does have a full face print underneath, too, which is, again, incredibly unsettling, but fits this guy perfectly. And then there is a back head print, but not an alternate face. And there's a look at the back torso print, too. Just some folds in the robes. Super cool minifigure, but not as cool as Sauron himself, which, wow, this is an awesome minifigure to finally get. His helmet and armor are all one piece, and it's super elaborate. Really massive for a minifigure, but looks amazing. I will say this is a rubber piece, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I much would have preferred if this was hard plastic. I just feel like hard plastic pieces are a much higher quality, but I get with like spikes coming off the top, they probably didn't want it to break. And then if we take that helmet off, you can see he does have a face print underneath, which is somewhat like reminiscent of Mr. E from Ninjago. If you're new to the channel, by the way, I'm a Ninjago channel. I'm going to mention Ninjago when I can. But yeah, it's like Mr. E from Ninjago where it's just the eyes, but he has these really elaborate eyebrows and like these fiery effects coming out around it. And then the armor looks spectacular. So many different layers of different metallic colors. We have metallic silver as well as like a metallic gray. And then of course the torso base is gunmetal gray, which is also metallic color. And it all comes together so nicely. The design on this figure is so intricate. It is fantastic. No alternate face or back head printing, but that's perfectly fine for this figure. I wouldn't expect it to. And there's the look of the back torso print as well. This is a single whole cape, which I know a lot of people don't like, but that's so the helmet can fit over top of it. I tried it with this cape instead because I got confused when building. I thought this was the one that wanted me to use. And yeah, the helmet piece just did not fit with that. So in this case, the one whole cape makes sense. And just makes for a fantastic looking figure all around. So yeah, this guy's the absolute highlight of the set, but honestly the entire minifigure selection's really good. Not as good as Rivendell from last year, just because I think the characters in that one were more interesting, but for what this set is, this is pretty much everything I could ask for. Really happy these two are here especially. And there we go, that is Barad Dur. So what are my overall thoughts of this set? Well, I mean, it's fantastic. It is really well designed. It definitely demands a presence on a shelf. And it's so cool to finally get this in LEGO form because obviously it's such an iconic part of the Lord of the Rings world, but we've never really gotten it in LEGO before. However, there's an elephant in the room that I haven't talked about yet, and that is the price. The price on this one, at least in the US, is $460, which, whew, that's a lot of money. So for a lot of people, you're not going to be able to get this. And let me tell you, if LEGO didn't send this to me, I would not be able to get this. I love the set. I think it's fantastic. I'll tell you straight up, I would not pay that price. Is the price fair? I think so. It does have 5,400 pieces and 10 minifigures, all of which are very high quality. It's not like all those pieces are small either. In fact, there's quite a few big pieces, and you can tell the set itself is clearly very big. So I'm not even saying it's not worth the price, I'm just saying it's a very large price. So I guess the question is, how much money do you have, and how big of a Lord of the Rings fan are you? Me personally, as I said, I'm not a big enough fan to have bought this myself. But if you are, and you are thinking about buying this set, I do think you'll be pretty happy with the end result. The designers did a really fantastic job from top to bottom, and what I appreciate the most is how good it looks on the outside while also being fun on the inside. I'm happy the inside's not just empty, or that it's not just like fully enclosed. No, they put fun stuff in there. We have a cafeteria, we have a blacksmith. They didn't need any of that in this set, but the fact that it's there just gives it so much more personality. It makes me love this set even more. Between this and Rivendell from last year, I do think I prefer the build of this set. The minifigures in the other one are obviously better. So if you don't have either, I guess that's which do you prefer. I think on a shelf this definitely looks nicer, though it's probably more difficult to store with how tall it is. So yeah, obviously your decision, but my overall thoughts is fantastic job, great set. I could not be more satisfied with this. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to my channel if you're new. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, stay tuned because I'll have more early June 2024 reviews coming very, very soon. But as for this one, I think that's about all I have to say, so thanks for watching everybody, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!